2018 Mr. Olympia fits the bill close enough. I'm not saying Sean Roden didn't deserve it or that Phil Heath was screwed or anything like that. It was a close call either way. In a nutshell, the problem with this current scoring system is that it's oversimplified and not transparent whatsoever. And whoever winds up with the most first place votes is declared the winner. The obvious issue with such a system is the utter lack of transparency. We have absolutely zero insight into how the judges arrived at their decision. Because none of these factors are documented, the only people on the planet who truly understand are the people sitting at the judging panel. Moreover, it's theoretically possible that some of the judges simply thought he'd make a better ambassador for the sport and decided to give it to him on that basis alone. Or perhaps even they just preferred the color of his posing trunks that day. So the whole system is like this black box we aren't meant to see into. And that's a real problem because the organization can basically change their standards at the drop of a hat without informing anyone. Since when have the judges at the Olympia ever cared for classic shape and lines? Maybe back in Lee Haney's day, but certainly not since then. For the past 25 years, it's pretty much always been about who's the biggest and most ripped with the best back. So now you mean to tell me they want to arbitrarily switch up their criteria all of a sudden? For starters, there's the fundamental criteria, which is typically broken up into 5 segments: mass, definition, aka conditioning, symmetry, proportion, and stage presence. Since these are essentially distinct criteria, we can score the competitors on each of these metrics individually. But there's also the mandatory comparison approach of determining the winner based on who won the majority of the poses. In my humble opinion, though, this isn't the best method as it's easy to hide or otherwise overlook major flaws when we go pose for pose. For example, a competitor that has a weak chest, a torn bicep, and a bloated midsection could still lay claim to the title by winning the front lat spread, side tricep, back double biceps, and rear lat spread.
For instance, a lot of people would comment on my bicep injury and in the front double bicep. But I could lose the front double bicep to everybody in the contest. It's just one pose. That's the way the contest is judged, right or wrong. It's not, you might have a comment on that, but this is the rules, this is how it's judged.
Yeah.
At least when I was competing was 4 poses that were semi-relaxed,
Yep.
and then the 7 compulsory poses.
Yep.
So you got 11 poses, yeah? And whoever wins the majority of those 11 poses is the winner.
Now, I get that these two approaches are hardly mutually exclusive. If it really just boils down to who dominates the mandatories, this could lead to some rather flawed physiques being crowned champion. On the other hand, if we go by the 5-point criteria, this could result in some very jack-of-all-trade type winners who are good at everything but not the best at anything. In other words, you can be a very well-rounded and complete bodybuilder in top shape, yet still not have much wow factor and not stand out in many poses. The 1994 Mr. Olympia is a perfect example to illustrate this point. Sean Ray this year was damn near flawless. The only thing you could really knock him for was that he looked too small standing next to the larger framed Dorian Yates. So Dorian only beat him in 1, maybe 2 of the 5 bodybuilding criteria. But on the flip side of the coin, Yates was able to beat him in the front lat spread, rear lat spread, side tricep, and arguably the back double biceps. Sean would have only won the front double biceps, abs and thigh, and possibly the side chest, making Yates the clear-cut victor, even though he had a torn bicep and a thick waistline and was obviously the more flawed of the two. Phil Heath actually fared quite well in most of the poses when he was locked in and flexing fully, but in between poses, he was often visibly out of breath and letting his gut spill out of control. If you remember back in 2004, they introduced something called the challenge round at the Olympia that year. It proved to be rather unpopular because it was poorly implemented. But in my opinion, it was actually a step in the right direction because at least the judges told us who won the dang pose.
Rear double bicep.
Rear double bicep. Get ready. You'll have 5 seconds. Go. Who's got it?
Who? Dexter Jackson!
Why not quantify some of it on paper and enlighten the rest of us? I think it's safe to say that everybody, fans and bodybuilders alike, would appreciate more detailed post-contest information to help make sense of some of these outcomes. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, I'm the Tominator signing off, and I'll be back.